Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Faden, and I'd like you to take a few deep breaths with me just to get yourself grounded and centered and really ready to hear this inspirational message today. So if you're driving, please keep your eyes open, but you can still bring your awareness to your breath. Breathing in the energy of expansion, breathing out whatever you no longer need. And just give yourself complete permission to be here in the now, because the now is where the divine dwells. And knowing that you're going to be hearing exactly what you need to hear today to really bring you closer into the presence of the divine. Let's take one more deep breath together in gratitude, and we can begin. Well, hello once again, my miraculous friend, and welcome. I'm so grateful to be able to spend this time with you and to talk about a topic that is really challenging for most of us who are highly sensitive, a lot of us who are light workers, and it is the topic of self-criticism. I hear this a lot in the work that I do with my own clients in my private mentoring programs, with myself, with my friends. Really, so many of us who are highly sensitive, we struggle with this energy of self-criticism. A lot of times I think it's because we are picking up energy when we're younger. We might hear things when we're younger. And I think they might affect us more deeply than the people that were raising us knew that they would. And not saying that it's their fault. And I'm not saying it's necessarily our fault either. It's just a fact that when you're more sensitive, things can kind of penetrate a little bit more. And then what ends up happening is we can have a habit of being critical towards ourselves. And it's one of the most challenging things, I think, to let go of. And what I'd like to do today is I'd like to share a story with you that illustrates this point of what to do with that self-critical voice, and a spiritual tool that I've used. And it's kind of reframed how I look at just even the concept of judging myself. I still do this, but if you look at it through the lens of this story, I think it's going to really help you. Those of us, again, if you're highly sensitive, you're probably also highly creative, especially if you're a light worker. And one of the things that Mother Mary has said is that you are not equipped to judge. Your job is to be a channel and to channel this energy, but not to judge what's coming through you. Let that be God's job. God can do whatever it wants to do with what you're doing, but you want to be the guardian of that energy, the steward of that energy, and not necessarily being judgmental and critical of that energy. And in fact, I have 3 stories I can share with you of famous people who, as I'm going to say who they are, you're going to be amazed at how they were judging themselves and almost didn't put their gift out in the world because of it. The first one is Barbra Streisand. Barbra Streisand she wanted to be an actress. She didn't really think much of herself as a singer necessarily. She knew that she could sing, but she didn't think that she was one of the greatest singers in the world. And she only recorded a demo because she thought that that would help her get more acting jobs. And somebody heard her demo and said, "Oh my God, she's amazing." And because of that, then her music career opened up for her, but left on her own, she wouldn't have done it. Same thing with Celine Dion. Celine Dion, who did want to be a singer, when the opportunity came for her, the song from Titanic, My Heart Will Go On, she didn't think that that song was for her. She didn't think she could do it justice. She wasn't even sure that the song was very good. And it was her husband who said, "Oh no, this is the perfect song for you, and this is an amazing song." And thank goodness that she listened to him and she didn't listen to her own critical voice that told her that it's not that great of a song, and I don't know if I can do this song really justice. And of course, that has been the song that has really catapulted her in her career and has also blessed millions of people around the world because it's such a beautiful song and she did such a wonderful job with it. And then we have one of my favorite stories because it's with my imaginary friend. I call Sandra Bullock my imaginary friend. And Sandra Bullock, if you're listening, I would love for you to one day be my actual friend. But for now, my imaginary friend, Sandra Bullock, didn't think that she was good enough to play the role in the movie The Blind Side. She didn't think she could play that actress, and that ended up being the role that helped her to win the Oscar. She won that Oscar in 2009 for that role, and she did an amazing job. For 8 months, she said, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do the accent. I can't do it. So again, that energy of self-criticism, when you're highly sensitive and highly creative, it's not going to serve you because we don't see ourselves correctly. So what can we do about this? Well, I'm going to share this story. And this is a story that you may have heard before. I just was reading it this week, and it's just a beautiful story. It's in the beginning of this book called Living with the Soul. And you know me, I love reading my books. I'll hold this up for you so you can see it. It's called Living with the Soul, Stories of Sri Ma. And I just did a book review of Sri Ma a couple of episodes ago. And so if you have this book, I'll put this in the show notes. This is on page 12. And this is the story of somebody sharing what it's been like for her to have a relationship with Sri Ma. But I want you to think of this story as your relationship with Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, however you refer to the divine. The divine in this case would be, in the story, is the old Chinese woman, or not the old, the wise Chinese woman. And so here is the story. And again, however you relate to the divine, for me, the divine would be, the wise Chinese woman would be Divine Mother. So a wise Chinese woman had 2 large pots, each hung on the ends of a pole, which she carried across her neck. One of the pots had a crack in it, while the other pot was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water at the end of the long walk from the stream to the house. The cracked pot arrived only half full. For a full 2 years, this went on daily, with the woman bringing home only 1.5 pots worth of water. Of course, the perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments, but the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfection and miserable that it could only do half of what it had been made to do. After 2 years of what it perceived to be bitter failure, it spoke to the woman one day by the stream. I am ashamed of myself because these cracks in me cause water to leak out all the way back to your house. The wise woman smiled. Did you notice that there are flowers on your side of the path, but not on the other pot's side? That's because I have always known about your flaws. So I planted seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walk back, you water them. For 2 years, I've been able to pick these beautiful flowers. Without you being just the way you are, there would not be this beauty to grace my path. I love that. So a few things about this story. We want to recognize that the poor cracked pot is comparing himself to the other pot and feeling that it's coming up short. But the very first thing that jumps out about this story is that the pot is on the shoulder of the wise woman. The pot is being held on the pole of the wise Chinese woman. And so the very first thing we need to do is just give ourselves to the divine and say, you know what? Here I am. Let me be in service. I just want to draw closer to you. But if, like that pot, we see that we don't measure up to others, and this happens a lot in spiritual communities with our friends, we can compare ourselves and say, this person is having deeper meditations, this person is able to have visions, this person is so creative. What's wrong with me? And that's the exact opposite. What you want to do is say, here I am, God, with all my cracks, leaking half the water every day. But you know what? I'm going to let you use me in whatever way you want. God already knows about your cracks. God already knows about your flaws. But if you weren't on the shoulder of the divine, being willing to be going back and forth from the stream, if you were just a pot sitting on the step, waiting to be good enough before you were even used, nothing much would happen. You'd be sitting there, and the wise Chinese woman would be going back and forth with a pot, and that would be the end of the story. But because of the willingness to be on the shoulder of the divine, to be in use, God can use you exactly as you are. In fact, the way that you are is perfect for what God might want to do. So in this story, knowing everything that you have and everything that you don't have, God takes a look and says, you know what? Let's plant some flowers. Let's take what is a challenge and turn it into a miracle. And that's one of the ways that the divine can magnify the miracles in your life, is if you're willing to be honest and to offer up all of you, all of your talent and all of your flaws. And to not even think of them as flaws, but just to just offer up all of you and say, God, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this, but I know you do. And I know that in your own immense wisdom and from your point of view, you can see how you can turn the things that I perceive into a beautiful row of flowers year after year. So the key is the willingness. Just be willing. Make sure that you're not sitting on the porch waiting to be perfect. Let yourself be in use. Whatever talents you have, whatever gifts you have, use them now, even if you think that they're not good enough. Because if you say a prayer and you invite the divine and say, God, use my music, use my writing ability, use my role as a parent, use my role as a healer, use my hands, use my heart, and you just offer yourself to the divine like that beautiful pot did, then whatever is in you will be made holy and will help to make the world whole. I promise you. So, my miraculous friend, I wanted to share that story with you to help you magnify the miracles in your life. And remember that the key, the very first step, is to remember that your miracle is already here. God bless you, my friend. Bye-bye.